You already know what's
Hey,
going
man,
on.
what's happening, man?
Hey.
I'm the funniest nigga, man.
When the fight is? When it's going? April?
Oh, we're fighting in April. You already know,
And
man down strap season.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You already know what time it is.
Yes, sir.
Let's go. Team USA. Let's go. Team USA. Let's go. USA. Let's go.
We're working. Work never stop. There's always work to do, no matter what.
So who's gonna fight who in 2022? Boxing fans are still wondering when it comes to the welterweight division as who is gonna be fighting who. We still haven't got word from the Spence Ugas fight, but a fight that we do know is going down is Keith Thurman and Mario Barrios this weekend. This is not necessarily a fight that boxing fans asked for. It's not a fight that we was calling out for years, but it's something that we got to kind of sit back and deal with, right? It's a tune-up fight, it's a showcase fight, and it's a fight that Keith Thurman should win pretty easily. But it's also a fight that fans, they are asking fans to pay $75 for. Will boxing fans pay for it? I highly doubt it. And if you look at some of the build-up to this fight and the promotion for this fight, it's been average at best. Not too many people is really paying attention to this fight. You know, PBC on Countdown, Mario Barrios, Thurman Barrios Countdown. At the time of me doing this video, only had 29,000 views. So that's not a lot considering, right? The platform and everything. That's not too many people is really interested in this fight. Not to mention they put a price tag on it. So people are really turned off by it. Also, boxing fans haven't seen Keith Thurman in quite some time, right? Back when Keith Thurman was around, it was free boxing for everybody, right? But now fast forward to 2022, now Keith Thurman finds himself in a situation to where now fans got to pay to see him fight. And Keith Thurman was that fighter that was glad to fight on TV for the world to see. But things has changed over there in the Premier Boxing Champion stable, and now guys like Keith Thurman got to try to sell this type of fight, this showcase tune-up fight against a guy coming off a loss to the public. It's just bad business. I don't think it's going to do well. But who's going to fight who in 2022? Keith Thurman was hollering Terrence Crawford's name all prior until about a good 3 weeks ago when the WBC seemed to have stepped into this fight with Barrios. And now this fight is a 12-round fight, and it's looking like it's a title eliminator fight. So one would assume whoever wins this fight will likely be next in line to facing a final eliminator bout or go right into a bout with the Spence Ugas winner. Speaking on the Spence Ugas, still hasn't got word on when that fight is happening or if it's even happening at all. But I did hear that Errol Spence Jr. is looking good in the gym and that he's starting to get some of his power back. I'm not sure where it went, but according to rumors, that Errol Spence is getting his power back. So we go see if he's going to be able to sustain that power leading up into this fight with Ugas. Because as we know, once that weight cutting starts, that's when things change, right? And Errol Spence Jr. has been a guy that's been cutting that weight for quite some time. Not to mention, he hasn't been in the ring. He only fought one time in 2.5 years. Prior to that, it was 14 months prior to his last fight. So Errol Spence Jr. had a substantial amount of time outside the ring, similar to Keith one-time Thurman. Both guys had a lot of time outside the ring, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Wasted a lot of good years, man. We're going to see if these guys can bounce back. But Keith Thurman does look like he's in shape going into this fight with Mario Barrios, right? He looked like he's in shape. He looked like he got some speed, explosiveness. So Keith Thurman may end up getting the job done pretty early against Mario Barrios, but we're going to have to wait and see. You know, Mario Barrios claims that the weight cut was killing him and he's going to be a fresher fighter, and don't underestimate him. This is what Mario Barrios said, but we're going to have to see because Mario Barrios, you know, you get knocked out by Tank Davis, a smaller man knocking you out. It's kind of hard to believe something like this, but we're going to see because weight cutting is an issue in combat sports, right? But Terrence Bud Crawford, what does this leave Terrence Bud Crawford? Well, Terrence Bud Crawford now seems like he has really little to no options right now. A once vocal Keith Thurman has now turned his sights elsewhere, right? First he was calling out Crawford, said he'll fight him. And now all of a sudden he don't want to fight Crawford. And this has been a really common trend with Keith one time, and this was what turns a lot of boxing fans off with Keith one time Thurman. his energy changed. His energy changes like the night and day. Errol Spence Jr. is tied up with Dennis Ugas, right? That fight still hasn't happened. We don't know what's going to happen with that fight. We just don't know anything. Then there's the young guys like Jerome Boots Ennis, who may be in the IBF Eliminator soon against guys like Custio Clayton. Virgil Ortiz got a fight against a guy named McKinnison coming up. So it's looking like Terrence Crawford has really close to no options left. I mean, he beat guys like Kell Brook, Amir Khan already. He beat Sean Porter already. He beat a lot of these guys already. And one would assume whoever else he fights that's not one of these champion level guys, he's going to beat them too. So it's not too many other options for Terrence Crawford. Of course, he has a big battle outside the ring with Bob Arum that he has to handle. But as far as inside the ring, Terrence Crawford has yet to have any of these top guys that's really willing to face him, just really truly calling him out and being serious about it. A lot of these dudes call out Terrence Crawford for clout because Terrence Crawford is one of the hottest names in boxing, most particularly American boxing. He's one of the hottest names. So a lot of these dudes who's been sitting on the couch, inactive, dormant, hiding, docile, will call out Terrence Crawford to get their name jump-started back into the boxing world, right? This is what these dudes been doing, right? Errol Spence don't necessarily got to do it, but guys like Keith Thurman, that's what he was doing. But will Keith Thurman get the Spence fight? Do Keith Thurman deserve an Errol Spence fight? Errol Spence Jr. has been pretty vocal about him not wanting to fight Keith Thurman simply because he just don't like Keith Thurman. And it's probably because of what Keith Thurman was doing to Errol Spence early on. So what goes around comes around. But will Errol Spence fight Terrence Crawford? Will Errol Spence even get past Dennis Ugas? Which isn't a guarantee. Boxing fans seem to be really overlooking Dennis Ugas going into this fight with Errol Spence Jr. They're really overlooking Ugas. I think Ugas is at, what's the word I want to use? I think he peaked out as far as like he's at his absolute best right now. He has a lot of momentum, right? A lot of momentum going into this fight. Coming off a big win against Pacquiao. Nobody gave him a chance against Pacquiao. Say what you want about Ugas beating Pacquiao. Nobody gave him a chance going into that fight. He's the most active fighter on the PBC roster, if I'm not mistaken. Definitely amongst the welterweights. And he got a good coach, and he's a disciplined guy. And I think he has he has what it takes to beat Errol Spence Jr. Errol Spence Jr., in my opinion, and it's just my opinion, he's playing catch up. Why? Because he's been out. So one would assume naturally a guy that's been sitting out, injured or for whatever reason, versus guys like Crawford and Ugas, who's been active, who's been going to camp, who you consistently see in the gym. He's playing catch up with these guys. But Errol Spence Jr. has a tremendous amount of confidence, and he said tune-ups are for fighters who are not confident in themselves or who don't believe in themselves. So he's going right into a tough fight with Dennis Ugas. Also, Errol Spence went to a fight with Danny Garcia coming off the car accident. So, if anything, right, despite Errol Spence's reluctance on dealing with Terrence Crawford, Errol Spence Jr. seemed to have confidence elsewhere, right? Hopping in the ring, coming off long layoffs, injuries, going right in there with champions. Hey, that's how real warriors move. So I got to salute Errol Spence for that. But we got to see this same type of energy applied towards Terrence Bud Crawford, your rival, your legacy fight. Who else you go fight if it ain't going to be Bud? If you beat Ugas, who else you go fight? What does Keith Thurman have to bring for Errol Spence right now? Nothing. And if Keith Thurman looks good against Barrios, Keith Thurman could potentially be a bad matchup for Errol Spence. Fleet-footed guy, quick on his feet, experience, quick hands, power in his hands, right? It'd be a very interesting fight to say the least. However, it's not the fight that fans want right now. Fans want to see Terrence Crawford mix it up with either one of these two guys. That's what boxing fans want to see. That's what boxing fans want to see. Boxing fans want to see Crawford, Spence, Crawford. Or if we can't get Spence Crawford right now, we could take the Crawford Thurman fight. That's what boxing fans wanted to see. But as we all know, you guys, there's never a guarantee in boxing. It's not a guarantee that Keith Thurman is going to beat Barrios soundly, right? I expect him to get the job done in that fight, but it's not guaranteed that he's going to get through it smoothly. But I'm going to give Keith Thurman 4 rounds to get that job done. then it's not guaranteed that Errol Spence is going to be your Dennis Ugas. It could be a scenario to where now, late in 2022, we got a undisputed fight between Terrence Crawford and Dennis Ugas. Crawford now will see the guy who beat him in the amateurs. Now he will see him in one of the biggest fights of his career as a professional in an undisputed showdown. Hell of an alternate storyline. Ugas is a dangerous opponent for Spence going into a fight with Terrence Crawford, if they even plan on fighting Terrence Crawford. I mean, we heard the top PBC brass was saying. I mean, it really looking like these guys are trying to freeze Bud out. They're not even trying to give him an offer. I mean, they're willing to put the bag on the table for Canelo. But when it comes to Terrence Crawford, a fight that box fans been talking about for years. I mean, I know they're getting tired of hearing about this dude. Nah, they don't want to offer him nothing, economics, blah, blah, blah. Right? But we just got to wait and see, right? You never know what's going to happen in boxing. You never know how things are going to play out. You never know. Keith Thurman may slip on a banana peel and lose against Barrios, right? Errol Spence may go up in there and lose a lopsided decision to your Dennis Ugas. You just never know. But as far as Terrence Bud Crawford, he really has nobody viable to fight right now. He beat Sean Porter already. His mandatory is done. So it really has voluntary options. But there's nobody really that's looking like they're going to volunteer to fight him that means something, right? Boots Ennis is not exactly out here tooting that Crawford horn, right? Crawford's available, but he's not exactly banging on that Crawford door like he was banging on that Errol Spence door. Why? Because Boots Ennis knows he's in a good position, and he don't want to risk fucking that up going after Crawford right now. It just doesn't make sense, right? So Terrence Crawford is looking like he, as of right now, don't have anything solid as far as opponents in the sport of boxing. It's unfortunate, but we go see how this thing plays out. Hopefully Errol Spence Jr. shows this eagerness, this fire to show the world that, look, this shit ain't sweet. Y'all been talking shit for all this time. I'm going to show y'all that I'm going to go up in here and whoop Terrence. Well, hopefully Errol Spence comes with this energy because he hasn't been showing it at all. We seen it after the Porter fight. He didn't want to give us nothing. He didn't want to give us nothing. And then Tim Smith and all these guys coming out saying what they saying, it really leads you to believe that they're planning to freeze Terrence Bud Crawford out. Tell me what you guys think. Like, subscribe, holler at your boy. Peace out.